All right, finally in Article 1, we're going to talk about limitations on the government and some of your first rights listed in the Constitution. So here we go. This is limiting the government now. We just talked about powers in Section 8. Now we have specific limitations, the things the government cannot do to you. The migration or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit shall not be prohibited by Congress prior to the year 1808, but a tax or duty may be imposed on such importation not exceeding $10 for each person. This is dealing with the importation of slavery. When slaves are coming into the country, this issue we talked about before has been at the beginning of our country from day one. And this didn't happen at the Civil War. It starts right here at the foundation of the Constitution. What are we going to do about slavery? So up until 1808, slavery is going to be legal in the United States. And in 1808, the first chance they got, they limited the way states could import slaves. Almost immediately, as soon as they got a chance, they dealt with limiting the number of slaves that could come into the United States. This is one of your first rights, the writ of habeas corpus. The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless when in cases of rebellion or invasion, the public safety may require it. So for the test, you need to know what the writ of habeas corpus is, and that is just saying you must be brought before a judge to determine if the government can legally detain you. They can't just put you in jail for no reason. A judge will determine if the government can legally put you in jail or detain you. And that right cannot be taken away unless in cases of rebellion or we are invaded. But that is your first right. You need to know it for the test. You must be brought before a judge to determine if the government can legally detain you. No bill of attainder or ex post facto law shall be passed. Two more of your rights. The first big three rights that you get in the Constitution. A bill of attainder is saying or punishing a person or a group without a trial. We just can't go about punishing a single individual or a group of people because we don't like them without a trial. They have to do something illegal, basically, and we can't just put them in jail without a trial. This is, again, moving from the rule of man, which a king could just throw you in jail for any reason he thought up, to moving towards the rule of law. And they have to have a reason to punish you, and they cannot do it without a trial. An ex post facto law is limiting the government again. Government cannot change the consequences of your actions after the fact. If it was legal when you did it, the government can't punish you tomorrow when they change the law. So if you're driving 65 miles an hour today and it's legal to do so and the government changes it to 55 tomorrow, they can't come back and say yesterday you drove 65 miles an hour, you're going to be punished and given a ticket today. The government cannot do that. They can't take you if you're convicted of murder in a state that has no death penalty. The state can't pass a death penalty law and all of a sudden you're going to be put to death because they didn't have that power to do it. They can't change the consequences of your actions after the fact. No capitation or other direct tax shall be paid unless in proportion to the census or enumeration herein before directed to be taken. This is just another limitation on government. Oh, sorry, I screwed up. Go back. No, just limits on government here. Lots of things. Sorry. This is really difficult, but it's nothing major. Taxes are going to be in proportion to the census. So everybody is going to, each state is going to pay the percentage of the population. So if they need $1 million, they're going to divide that $1 million up amongst the states. No tax or duty shall be laid on articles exported from any state. So this is again regulating interstate commerce. We can't tax one state's stuff when it comes into our country, or when it leaves our state to go to another, they can't put a tax or duty on it. No preference shall be given by any regulation of commerce or revenue to the ports of one state over those of another, nor shall vessels bound to or from one state be obligated to enter, clear, or pay duties in another. So again, regulating interstate commerce. One state can't stop your ship and say you need to pay a tax before you go on, or you got to pay a huge tax to come into our port. It's just opening up regulation. No money shall be drawn from the treasury, but in consequence of appropriations made by law, and a regular statement and account of receipts and expenditures of all public money shall be published from time to time. So you have to make a law to spend federal money, and they keep track of the money that they spend. No title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of Congress, accept any present emolument, office, or title of any kind whatsoever from any king, prince, or foreign state. So if you're in federal office, you can't be granted a title from another country. You're going to be obligated to your role in the United States. They're limiting government. We're not going to have a king. We're not going to have princes. We're not going to have dukes. No titles of nobility in the United States. And if you're holding a federal office, nobody can give you a title from another country unless Congress agrees to it. Article 1, Section 10 is the limitations on states. And it's saying no state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant levels of mark or reprisal coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any titles of nobility. The Constitution is saying here no state can do what the federal government is limited in doing. So they can't grant you any of those titles either, or make a bill of attainder law or an ex post facto law, anything like that. And again, limiting states on imports and exports. You cannot tax someone's stuff coming into your port except what is absolutely necessary to run the port. Okay, no taxes, no fees, no duties on stuff going through interstate commerce. Regulating interstate commerce here again. Stuff moving from state to state can't be taxed unless it is absolutely necessary. No state shall, without the consent of Congress, lay any duty upon to keep troops or ships of war in time of peace, enter in any agreement or compact with another state or with a foreign power, or engage in war, unless actually invaded or in imminent danger, as will not admit of delay. So limiting again what states can do. You can't have ships of war in Minnesota. We can't have our own fleet of ships. We keep troops in our militia, in our National Guard, but those are regulated by the federal government. And if someone did invade Minnesota, we could defend ourselves, but that's the only time we could declare war on another country. And that's it. So that's limitations on the states again. So good luck. Have fun on the worksheet and look forward to the discussion in class.